Tuesday, everyone. So some of you will probably have noticed that the deep dive video that I wanted to do on Saturday, that didn't go up, and there was also no stand-up yesterday. When I was making those promises on Friday, I had completely forgotten that Memorial Day weekend was coming up, and I already had made some promises about things I needed to get done this past weekend. So plus I was just kind of burnt out a little bit, and I needed to rest up. So yeah, the quick update is I'm literally about an hour, 2 hours away from finishing up some client work that's been dragging a bit. Which kind of one little thought that I've had recently is just the difficulty of software estimates, and the biggest problem with software delivery estimates, it's usually it's not rooted, especially once you get to a certain level of expertise with like actual software engineering. It's very rarely that you're surprised by the technical details. Usually what you're surprised by is specifics of the business case, and in this case I don't want to reveal anything because this is a project for someone that hasn't launched publicly yet, but the gist of it is I thought that I understood the domain much better than I did, and you know that's always the case when you're doing something new in software, especially if it's never been done before, which this hasn't. But it's at the same time it's you don't really know how deep the water is until you dive in, and this water has been much deeper than I expected. So anyway, that took a lot longer than I thought it was going to, but I'm literally at the point now where like all the back end queries are done. All I'm doing is just cleaning up data, wiring up some API endpoints, and the front end is done too. Or at least the front end has the placeholders for the API reception, so it's going up in an hour or two. And that's a relief. I really want to get that squared away because it's a pay job, which is nice, but it's definitely, it feels kind of like if you look at your two resources when you're trying to start something, your first resource is of course money, and contract work paid for. Contract work brings in money, which is great. But your other resource is time/opportunity cost. And what I mean by that is like, well, first opportunity cost, right? That's sort of obvious, which is like if you don't launch fast enough on your idea, you really risk, especially like when it's a really, really primed idea, like it's the zeitgeist, it's in the public imagination. People are talking about the problem, and I'm talking about like a problem here. You want to get that out. You really want to get that out as quickly as possible. So that said, eGloo, I've been targeting a beta for June, and that'll probably be mid to late June for a small beta, and then like fully opening the gates beginning of July, which is fine. We're not off track or anything, but at the same time, I'm always weighing those two things in the back of my head when it comes to how I'm managing and budgeting both money and time, and so. Anyway, I'm really glad that this is almost out the door and done, and that'll feel really good to have that out of the way. The other thing is, so for the deep dive on Saturday, like I said, I was super busy, and I was pretty beat from last week, sort of burning the candle at both ends on two different projects at the same time. So I just needed to rest. But the other thing was I realized for the deep dives, I don't want to just sit up and ramble. I want to actually have like a detailed checklist of things that I want to talk about within the scope of a broader point. And so I wanted to put a little bit more time in organizing my thoughts before sitting down. Just nothing, I'm not going to read off of a prompter, but I want to at least have a skeleton structure of things that I know that I want to sort of weave my thoughts through before I actually sit down and spend an hour and a half on that, just in terms of maximizing the effectiveness of the time spent and also the value to anyone who wants to watch those. So that's that. So yeah, the probably I've got literally the next 2 hours, and I think this thing is pretty much squared away. And then for the rest of the day and the evening, I'm going to be doing what I was talking about last week, which is the custom authorizer Go kit in Lambda, getting that set up, and then getting a simple service for metered API access. So, yeah, big thing of mine. I don't want to belabor the point here, but it is important for me to hold myself to the same level of accountability that you would have in a regular stand-up. So that's sort of why I wanted to make sure that I addressed, not hitting the targets that I was talking about on Friday. Make sure that that's not ignored. But at the same time, I want to point out that, for me, I see that as, we're not, I see there's a Japanese word for this, and it's called kaizen, and it means continual improvement, which makes a lot of sense to anyone in the agile world. But I really do believe also not just in continual improvement. I believe in making sure that you're not afraid to point out where things went wrong, because then you can actually address real problems. If you're ignoring what the problems are, or you're trying to address different problems, you're going to very quickly find yourself in the wrong direction, potentially very far in the wrong direction. So, big believer in that. So, yeah. Got some sirens going on, so that's how you know Los Angeles is alive. But yeah, so that's it for today. I will be back tomorrow, and then hopefully I'll have some cool stuff to show you. All right, thanks.